Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. Before I get started on this episode, just want to thank everybody for supporting the channel. Push it to 3,000 subscribers. So if you guys do enjoy the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So thank you so much. So a report came out yesterday from Marc J Spears. He basically said that Jimmy Butler is now, again, willing to be traded anywhere but the Memphis Grizzlies, which I think is very interesting. So Jimmy Butler, we all know, has been saying that he wants to play for the Suns and only the Suns, and the Suns have been desperate and have been eager to acquire Jimmy Butler, but Bradley Beal's no trade clause and his market from other teams is kind of holding this trade back right now. And so Jimmy Butler, when he first requested a trade a few weeks ago before his first suspension, basically said, I want to play anywhere but Miami to get my joy back. And that tune changed immediately, where he said, basically, or his camp has basically said, he only wants to play for the Phoenix Suns. And the reason for that was that the Suns owner came out basically saying that we will give Jimmy a max extension if he signs here, and was the only team basically that is willing to give him that future contract. And because of that, and also because they have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, I think that's the reason why Jimmy Butler wanted to go play there, because then they would be a pretty formidable big three, even though the Phoenix Suns have been really bad this season. I think they're 500 or maybe one game above 500. They've been playing a little bit better since Bradley Beal has been benched, which I don't think is a coincidence, of course. But let's see. The Suns are 10th. They're 22-21. The Heat are now below 500 after they lost to the Milwaukee Bucks last night and got destroyed. They're 21-22. They're the ninth seed. So Jimmy wanted to go to the Suns again because of that contract, but now, per ESPN's Marc J Spears, Jimmy Butler's wish list is to be just out of Miami, with the exception of Memphis. So again, Butler apparently has had a strong feeling that he's not wanting to go to the Grizzlies. Chris Haynes also reported this last week or so that Jimmy Butler, wants to get out of the Miami Heat, but has no interest in Memphis. But they also said he had no interest in Sacramento. He had no interest in the Milwaukee Bucks and another team as well. But then all of a sudden now the Bucks have come up as a team that could potentially acquire Bradley Beal. But then there's been so many conflicting reports, man. It's been so chaotic. Bucks basically have also then said they have not talked about Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's agent has not talked to Bradley about going to the Bucks and waiving his no trade clause. So it's just a mess right now. And if the Phoenix Suns do want to actually acquire Jimmy Butler, it's going to take 4-5 teams to get this done, which could include the Raptors, the Bulls, the Pistons, who knows, the Utah Jazz. There's a ton of teams. But either way, now, Jimmy Butler, who knows what he actually wants? Does he only want to go to the Suns, or is he really open to go anywhere besides the Memphis Grizzlies? So the Grizzlies, I don't think they're desperate right now to add another player during this trade deadline, especially a star player or aging star players, because Ja Morant right now and Triple J and that team are playing very well. They're 29-15. They're third in the West. So I don't know how much they would want to depart from their roster, from the rotation, to add an aging Jimmy Butler to potentially ruin that chemistry or potentially put them over the hump. As long as they don't trade Desmond Bane and they can keep him and Jimmy Butler, like that's going to be a lethal starting lineup, where they can also have Jaren Jackson, and then of course Ja Morant, and then I don't know if Zach Edey's starting or not. Let me know in the comments if he's starting or if he's coming off the bench. But with Edey coming in, that could be a crazy rotation with Ja. Jaren Jackson, you got Edey, you got Butler, you got Desmond Bane. So you got you got 3-point shooting, you got size, you got defense, you got playmaking with Jimmy, with Ja. That could be a really, really good starting lineup. But either way, the Bucks seem to be out right now on the Bradley Beal sweepstakes. That can change, which means it would be very difficult for Jimmy Butler to get to the Suns. But there has also been reports basically saying that the Grizzlies are still lurking, though, in the Butler trade. So even though he's saying he doesn't want to go there, that there have been talks, according to sources, between the Miami Heat and the Memphis Grizzlies during this process. And sources have theorized that if Memphis can acquire him for a playoff run and also free up cap space this summer, that could be interesting to them. And that was according to Brian Windhorst. So they do have a contract extension for Jaren Jackson. He's eligible for one now. So if they might be willing to not give a lot, obviously, because if they know Jimmy Butler is going to be a rental and not going to pick up his player option in Memphis after this season, then if they can get away with getting Jimmy Butler for a cheaper price, which I don't know how well that's going to work out with Pat Riley, obviously, because he doesn't want to get a terrible package for Jimmy Butler. And we know what he wants already, obviously. Win now players, expiring contracts, draft picks, etc. Can't get all three. If you can get 2 out of 3, that's fine. But basically, Memphis, again, would be willing to take on Jimmy Butler as a rental because if they assume he doesn't want to re-sign and he's upset about that, then he'll leave and then they'll have cap space freed up for Jaren Jackson Jr.'s extension. So it sounds like the Grizzlies are still intrigued and have had conversations behind closed doors with the Miami Heat, whether Jimmy Butler wants to go there or not. So that's interesting. So this makes me hopeful that Jimmy Butler does get traded before the trade deadline, but you never know what can happen. And if he doesn't get traded by the trade deadline, this is going to be rough for the Miami Heat. Mickey Harrison is going to have to either pay him to go home or they're going to have to find new ways to suspend him because otherwise he's going to ruin the vibes and the chemistry of this team if he actually just plays on the court and doesn't try because we see he's not really trying and quitting on his team. So anyway, that's all I have for this episode. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.